Coming up next on Video Television Network, we take a look at a group of dedicated volunteers who are out to preserve a working relic of Victoria's golden past in the Maldon to Castlemaine Railway project. Twisted pieces of rusting iron hammered to place on decaying layers of solid wood is fast becoming a diminishing scene on Australian landscapes. This outback location could be miles from anywhere. It once was an active section of track which saw many an iron monster round the corner. It was the era of the steam train, which served the people of Maldon and Castlemaine for 92 years, until one day it all went. This tiny historic town in central Victoria is just over an hour away from Bendigo. The township of Maldon came to a standstill in 1976 when the line was pronounced closed. The people of Maldon had lost their traditional vehicle of the past, which was for some their only means of transportation to Castlemaine and beyond. The old wooden structures had come to bear the stress of time. The sound of the whistle from a passing steam train was transformed to silence, to a mecca of calling birds and croaking frogs. Then, one day in early 1986, there was a subtle blend of music and good cheer as the K160 had relived again into the station at Maldon. Stumbling through the clouds of doubt for over 10 years, the old iron monster was a restored masterpiece of workmanship. A shortened length of railway line had been reopened by a group of determined individuals which formed the non-profit organisation known as the Castlemaine and Maldon Railway Preservation Society.
Yes, you go. That's the handle. Right.
Spokesman for the society, Peter Whaley, says that the railway is not a recreation, but an existing railway.
We're not just recreating something here, we're preserving an operating railway as it was. Obviously we're rail fans, we love steam trains, and I think most people do, but apart from that, as I said, it really is an important thing. If we don't do this, steam trains as such will just disappear. And we're quite unique, the Castlemaine and Maldon Railway, in that we'll be the only operating branch line in the state. And I think that's very important.
How did you start the actual restoration?
Back at the end of 1976, the Victorian Railways decided that this branch line here wasn't a viable proposition, and so they just simply closed it. The Castlemaine and Maldon Railway Preservation Society was formed just about immediately with the view of operating the steam train as we are now. We have, of course, like every volunteer operation, a bit of a job keeping up working bees and, in fact, keeping up interest, because it really is hard work to restore the track, to restore the locos, the rolling stock, and just running it. And although we only run every Sunday, it still takes quite a gang to do that.
And where do you get your working capital from?
That's another surprising thing too. We've done, I think, a magnificent job getting as far as we can with the little money we've spent. Although when I say a little, we've probably spent in excess of 100,000 already. Some of that has been government grants. We had a CEP scheme. We also have a lot of support from the Maldon Shire Council. It's the old story about spending money to make money. The more you have, the quicker we'll get down the track and extend our operation and, of course, make more money. In time, as the name suggests, the Castlemaine and Maldon Railway will run between both towns. And historically, as I said again, the history part of it's very important. Historically, it's a wonderful area of the state to be working in, with Maldon, which is Victoria's first notable town, which speaks for itself, I think, and Castlemaine, which was a thriving gold centre in its day. So we figure that we'll have a really viable tourist project.
Volunteer steam train driver Colin Hall of Bendigo was with the Victorian Railways for 48 years. His love for steam engines has now become a pastime with him, and with his vast experience comes the knowledge of the K160.
Well, for many years this ran on light line railways in Victoria, not necessarily in Bendigo, but on light lines. It's called a light line goods engine. And it ran many years pulling goods trains until such time that it just about reached the end of its tether, and it went to Bendigo workshops as a shunting engine then, and it went for many, many months in Bendigo workshops until finally it was retired. And the railways then handed it over to our society here, and with a group of young fellows we've sort of looked after the old thing and got it back into running order again, and we've transported it here to Maldon in a low loader. We couldn't run it across from Castlemaine, and now we just run backwards and forwards, and we hopefully eventually want to run into Castlemaine. So, but just at the moment we run from here down to a main road crossing about a mile down the hill and run back in, and hope that we get sufficient people to come and visit us and make up the $400 that it costs us every Sunday to run.
What about fuel?
Yes, fuel. We'll burn the best part of a tonne of coal today, which will cost us $100 for fuel, and we must transport that by a semi-trailer from New South Wales. It's a good quality coal, and we get the coal from New South Wales by perhaps 20-tonne lot, and it, under the circumstances then, it probably costs us the best part of $2,000 to get a truck of coal here. And we've got to have $2,000 then to be able to pay for the coal before we can even start to run.
Originally, the line opened in 1884, over a length of 32 kilometres, between Castlemaine and Maldon. The Society plans to extend restoration of the existing line as funds become available.
Well, we must do up a bridge that's down near a siding called Muckleford, which is our short-term stage where we hope to pull the train to Muckleford, run around the train and run back here again, and that would be $10,000 at least. And eventually we'll have to get railway permission, of course, Victorian railway permission, even to run into Castlemaine. But I would say in the long term we'd be looking at, to repair the line, to get into Castlemaine eventually would be in the vicinity of $50,000 to $100,000. We must buy everything second-hand. We've bought sleepers and trackage that the railways have finished with over in the Mansfield area, and we've got to transport it here, and we've got to get volunteer labour then to go out and put the track down and put in sidings and do this and so on. So you realise if we didn't have volunteers, we wouldn't run. So the thing that we can say is that this is the only Victorian broad gauge steam railway running in the whole of Victoria. Puffing Billy is narrow gauge, of course, and Bellarine Peninsula one at Queenscliff is standard gauge. So consequently, we're the only broad gauge Victorian railway in existence, really, with a steam loco.
Funds for the restoration work on the Castlemaine to Maldon Railway project are raised from society memberships, donations, and the sale of tickets for the historic train ride. The Society needs more volunteers to undertake the many varied tasks associated with the restoration of the railway and its rolling stock. The arduous work on the railway by these dedicated workers is sometimes an uphill battle financially, when the task of facing leasing payments to the Victorian Rail Authority is demanded.
To admit, I find it very hard to come to terms with. We're upkeeping the track, we're maintaining it, and we're improving it, in fact, and we're paying the price for doing it.
We would have to think that we should get all these things free of charge. We would want them because, after all, it's tourism for Maldon, it's tourism for Victoria.
I really am very unhappy about that. It's, although only, I suppose, a relatively small charge over the operating costs of the railway, it is something we could certainly do without.
All we depend on, though, is handouts from the government. And if we've done very well with the government of the day, but if we had a government that wasn't much interested in tourism, we would find ourselves perhaps not getting handouts at all. So we just rely on passengers for a start to come and visit us, and the government to be able to say, well, we've got a bit of spare money, we'll give you $10,000 to spend a bit further, and that $10,000 doesn't go very far then. So, yes, we do depend on handouts. That's what it's worth.
The only people you can really talk tourism with is the tourism department, or the commission now, and they think tourism is great as long as it doesn't cost them anything. So I have to admit I'm getting very cynical about this tourism thing, where although we're certainly getting encouragement, It never is money encouragement, and I think that's the bit that you really need to get a scheme going.
Today, the Castlemaine and Maldon Railway Preservation Society is contributing not only to the savour of the genteel age of steam travel, but playing its remarkable role in supporting tourism in Victoria.
Ordinarily, we come, yes, from miles away to drive the steam engine.
It's not a recreation, it is the railway as it actually was at the turn of the century.
You realise if we didn't have volunteers, we wouldn't run.
We're upkeeping the track, we're maintaining it, and we're improving it, in fact, and we're paying the price for doing it.
Yes, we do depend on handouts. That's what it's worth.
It's full steam ahead for the Castlemaine and Maldon Railway Preservation Society as the line relives as a working relic of Victoria's golden past.